Racing Pride, and how did it come about?
Racing Pride is an initiative to positively promote LGBTQ+ inclusion through motorsport. It was launched in June 2019 and I'm one of the founders of it. We developed it in collaboration with Stonewall, and the message really is to show that LGBTQ+ people can be part of motorsport, are welcome in motorsport and are already being successful in motorsport.
And you've announced an exciting collaboration with the Aston Martin F1 team. Can you tell us what that's about?
Yeah, it's been amazing this month to announce publicly that Aston Martin Cognizant Formula One team has been working with us, is supporting us and is supporting our message. We've been doing lots of stuff behind the scenes with the team for some time now, doing workshops with their staff, with their senior management, with their HR department, making sure they genuinely are as inclusive as they can be. And that work is ongoing. We'll keep doing that with them. And because it's Pride Month, they wanted to get our message out there a bit more broadly, and they're doing lots of activations with us this month, which is fantastic to see.
And how important do you think it is to have a variety of partnerships in both national and international racing?
Yeah, I think a really important thing about Racing Pride is that we want to include all levels of motorsport, from grassroots right up to Grand Prix, and so it's vital for us really to have partnerships that go through national racing, from absolute grassroots level to the highest level of national racing, and then obviously all the way up to Formula One now, because we want people in at all levels of the sport.
And do you think, with the word getting out now about Racing Pride, do you think this is something that can raise awareness and break down barriers more in the future?
Yeah, I think the thing with LGBTQ+ inclusion in motorsport is just people find those conversations difficult to have, and they haven't really had them in the past. And I think that's a really important thing Racing Pride's doing, is just essentially starting those conversations, providing a talking point, giving people as well a means to show their support for the community in motorsport. It's easy for them to follow us on social media, share our stuff, put a sticker on their car, and that lets LGBTQ+ people around you know that you're on their side, that you're going to be a great ally to them, and that way we can start the conversations, as I say, we can show the support, and we can make motorsport a more inclusive place.
Very good, brilliant. We'll give you a little rest now. We're going to talk to Abbie next. So Abbie, later this month you're going to be racing in the W Series in Austria alongside the Formula One Grand Prix. How's racing the R1 Praga? Has it helped you for this?
I hope so, yeah. I mean, my background is kind of sports cars as opposed to things with like slicks and wings and aero. So one of the reasons why I wanted to compete with the Praga was to just get a little bit more experience in that kind of format before I jump in the W Series car. And obviously being on the F1, in front of the F1 audience, it's a lot of eyes will be watching. So really pleased that I've been able to have the opportunity, and having a partnership with Racing Pride is obviously going to benefit from the F1 exposure as well.
Yeah, and obviously the W Series, it's going to be an excellent opportunity to showcase the talents of female drivers.
Yeah, and I think year one it kind of proved that. I know there were a lot of sceptics out there initially, and I was one of them. But watching that first year and the level of talent and just the sheer kind of excitement of the racing that was produced, it's attracted more girls to it. Maybe higher profile females to the championship for year two. So hopefully we'll put on a good show for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and across motorsport in general, there has been a large uptake in female drivers. Is this a trend you think will carry on and grow?
I think so, yeah. I mean, you compare for when I started nearly 20 years ago, I was probably only one of 2, 3 maximum in a national karting championship. So, there are more. Maybe in every single race there's 1 or 2 females, and I think organisations like W Series and the kind of push globally for women's sport is only going to be beneficial, and it's going to help in the long run possibly to get a female to F1.
Yeah. And for any aspiring young girls that are watching who are thinking of trying to get into motorsport, what advice would you give them?
Do it. It's the best thing I've ever done. It's so inclusive, and with more organisations like this, helping to push that even more. There are so many opportunities for people, and it's not just as a driver. You can do it as an engineer, mechanic, a team boss, even a marshal. There's so many people involved in making a race weekend happen that there's so many opportunities out there for people from all walks of life.
Well, thank you very much. Richard, we're coming back to you. So your endurance season in the Brit car, it started really well. Your points leader's going into this weekend. Can you carry that on?
Yeah, I mean, it's been really interesting for me. It's the first time I've raced in endurance. It's also the first time I've raced a car with this level of downforce and those sorts of things, so I've had to adapt as well. But yeah, it's been great fun so far. We're only 4 races in. There's a long, long way to go. But yeah, I'm really happy with the team I'm in. My teammate's fantastic as well, and I've been having a great time. And I just hope I keep learning and enjoying myself, and we'll see where we end up.
Yeah, so obviously it's a transition into this sort of racing. How How have you coped with that? Have you had to change your techniques, your driving styles?
Yeah, I mean, it has been interesting. The main thing is just believing how much aero grip there is and so on in terms of the car. And then it's just interesting being in a proper multi-class kind of series for the first time. I've been in series that are, not necessarily one make, but tightly controlled regulations, very similar cars before. And it just gives that extra challenge to kind of figure out where and how you're going to overtake people in quite different cars sometimes.
And you mentioned earlier you are, of course, one of the co-founders of Racing Pride. How does it make you feel now to see the success and the growth of that?
Yeah, I mean, I always had confidence that Racing Pride was going to grow because, as I say, I'd had some difficult experiences as a gay driver in the sport, but I think it was mostly just because people weren't talking about it, and I genuinely believe most people in motorsport want to see an inclusive sport. It benefits everyone to welcome more people to the sport. So I think just once you put the idea out there, it's very easy for people to go, yeah, okay, this is something I want to be part of, and fortunately that's happened, it is growing, and I just think it can only be good for the sport, and obviously, yeah, I'm very satisfied and excited to see it growing, but there's still lots more that we want to do, so we're going to keep on pushing.
And speaking of keeping on pushing, how would somebody get involved with it if they're watching this now?
So you can find Racing Pride in lots of ways. We're at Racing Pride HQ or across social media. We have a website, www.racingpride.com. You can send us a message and contact@racingpride.com. And yeah, just look out for what we're doing, what we're sharing, and if you think there are things you can contribute to, if you think your series, your team, your organisation would like to get involved with Racing Pride, just get in touch and we can figure out what we can do.
Charlie, last year you became the first openly transgender driver to compete in the Nürburgring 24 hours. You must be really proud of that.
It was a huge achievement. I mean, I think both in terms of my career and what that meant, getting to that race, one of the biggest endurance races in the world, and also on a personal level, I think, in terms of what I'm trying to do in the sport, to use my visibility to create a positive impact, to inspire other people, to show what you can do, where you can get to, and just to also create a broader message of educating people, creating more awareness, more acceptance. It was a big life moment for me, certainly. And coming away with 4th place as well. First time there, I mean, we had some atrocious conditions. I think it was the first wet race we did in the car, and I took the start, so it was a lot of pressure. I mean, coming down the start straight, I couldn't see more than about 10 feet in front of the car. So racing on that track is wild, but yeah, a lot of fun.
And how did that experience compare to racing the Pragas that you're racing now?
It's been a really good experience in terms of building up the familiarity with multi-class racing. I mean, the Nürburgring and the Nordschleife is not very wide, a little bit like Galton Park in fact. It's very narrow, 25 kilometre long course. You've got so many different cars and classes, 150 different cars. So you're always getting people overtaking you, you're having to overtake people, and so you're doing two things simultaneously. You're driving the car, but you're also managing the traffic, and that's a skill that really any driver in endurance racing, that's critical to your ability to be consistent, stay out of trouble, and to be able to get through the pack whilst maintaining your average speed lap after lap. So it's been an amazing asset, I'd say, from everything that I've learned there, and hopefully I can put it to good use this weekend.
And you've come from a solid background in GT racing, and I believe you have a desire to compete in the 24 Hours of Le Mans?
That's my ambition. Yeah, for me, Le Mans is the big dream, because it's just such a... I mean, the first time I went there, 2001, before I was racing, before I transitioned, seeing something in motorsport on that scale, 250,000 people, it just blows you away. And I said right there and then, if I ever do something like this in motorsport, this has got to be the ambition. And it feels like, it's not too far away. Things are moving forwards, getting a lot of experience, getting the results, and hopefully in the not too distant future I'll be able to line up on the grid there.
And as a transgender woman in a historically male dominated sport, how difficult have you found it to be accepted and progress to where you are today?
I have found it difficult initially. I'll be honest, I think a lot of the barriers were in my own head. I think and as Richard was saying earlier, when you can't see that LGBTQ plus visibility in the paddock, you have no way of knowing how you're going to be received, how you're going to be accepted or not. And I felt like as a trans woman, I just wouldn't be accepted. I thought I was going to be rejected, and that's a really horrible feeling to carry that around. What actually happened was that although it was difficult at first going back, because a lot of people perhaps were worried about saying the wrong thing or, causing offence, and therefore people perhaps didn't interact with me initially in the way that I'd would have hoped. After time, I think things just worked out, and people became to understand why I was doing what I was doing, and actually the support I've had has been phenomenal. It's been really heartwarming to experience that, and I think that's just made me want to share that with other people, that they can see that, because motorsport is inclusive. It is like a huge family, and it's that feeling of belonging that we all love about the sport. So I think it's just communicating that in a way that everybody feels welcome, everyone feels a part of that inclusive environment.
Superb, yeah. And do you think that the Brit Car and the BARC's partnership with Racing Pride, do you think that could encourage more drivers from the LGBTQ community?
I feel absolutely certain that it will, and I think it is already. I mean, I get some really lovely messages from people through social media saying things like, thank you for being visible. You've given me a reason to follow, Brit Car and to support the three of us and follow our progress. But also, I think most importantly, I can see that actually, I have a place, I'm welcome in the paddock as a driver, as someone working in the media, as a race engineer, you name it. It's that age-old mantra of if you can't see it, you can't be it, and there really is a lot of truth in that, and I think already we're having a big impact, and it's only going to continue to grow and grow. So yeah, it's a great time to see Racing Pride going from strength to strength.
Well, that's absolutely superb, and we'd like to say thank you to you all. I mean, Abbie's ran off, but but thank you very much, and best of luck for today.
Thank you.
Thank you.